down here, ready for the start. It's a very distinctive start sequence that we have at Henley Royal Regatta. It's not like anything else. The umpire will run through the sequence with the crews prior to announcing. And they'll say when the crews are both straight and ready, they will have a start in the race. So they'll be waiting for the coxswains to have their boats aligned.
Get ready, please.
This is the beauty of the Britannia Challenge Cup. We've got two coxes loaded into the bows of both boats. You see those two crews moving around at the start. There should be no curious interpretations of how to steer a straight line here.
Wow, a bit of a roll around there. A little bit of a struggle with the timing there. The Greenbank Falmouth Rowing Club crew on the right-hand side in the buck station. Sydney Rowing Club from Australia are away quite cleanly on the left-hand side of your screen. Great shot there down the course. And you see that Sydney Rowing Club has about a length lead. Certainly the favourites to take out this race at this point in time.
Yeah, I would think that's a fair comment there. Greenbank Falmouth look to have built or developed quite a lot of speed since their outing at the Metropolitan Regatta a few weeks ago, but I think Sydney, having won this event only a few years ago, we're looking a class apart here. Already clear water between the two crews, and this would be a very lovely sight for any fans watching in Australia.
There in the Greenbank crew, in front of us, Matt Pullen in the bow, James Kerr, 52 years of age, Alex Kerr, 18 years of age, Tim Wilkinson, 23 years of age, and Sarah Lewis, the coxswain.
Curious actually, Sarah Lewis, so that's a name that rings a bell. She raced at Henley Women's Regatta a few weeks ago, but in the single scull, competing in her own right, and actually I think she progressed to the latter stages of her event. So fantastic to see her now representing her club at the Royal Regatta in the coxswain seat.
That is quite incredible to see someone that's both a coxswain and a rower, because generally you see coxswains and rowers together, there's a couple of obvious differences.
I counter that she was a lightweight, I'm pretty sure, if my memory serves me correctly.
Yes, I think so.
Just see Sydney there on the right-hand side of your shot with those distinctive light blue blades. They already look like they've taken the rate down to me.
Look, it's a big week. We've been saying it time and time again that we have the opportunity to take your foot off the pedal. Then it is important to be able to do that. It's a hot week. We're only 3 days in. The biggest round's yet to come, Saturday and Sunday. So I think that the Sydney Rowing Club crew would probably race this out for the first few hundred metres, but then look to take things down and really enjoy the row home.
They certainly did go out ferociously, establishing themselves as clear favourites in this race, but I think watching some of their opponents win earlier on today, they faced sterner tests at the weekend, and as you said, Sarah, I think it is important to try and conserve energy at this point, because tougher tests are yet to come as we roll on into the Henley weekend.
In the Sydney Rowing Club crew, Alex Nichol in the bow, Will O'Connell in the two-seat, Quinton Boltman and Jackson Kench. Jackson, former Australian junior representative.
Sydney always have a curious relationship with Henley Royal Regatta, and that when they do bring crews, they tend to be exceptional. I remember racing a Sydney Rowing Club crew in the Forley Challenge Cup, and we left the start line, and I looked around and they'd gone 10 strokes in. Honestly, they'd left us behind. They were twice the size of us. We were only 16 at the time, and they were gunning for the win, I think. But they've had an odd relationship in that they've won events, but they've also come a cropper a few times at the Thames Challenge Cup, where they crashed out in the second round. And I think they're keen to add some silverware to their cabinet this year, with a selection of strong crews entered across the events.
Absolutely, big supporters of the event. Mick Rowan, their team manager, I think he's been coming out here for over 20 years to Henley now. So big supporters, and generally holding a big fundraising night at the boat club and raising tens of thousands of dollars to be able to send their crews across here to the Henley Regatta. So big supporters of the event, and like you say, sending class crews and having quite a great deal of success in recent years at the regatta, and certainly this would be one of their priorities, I assume, the Britannia Challenge Cup. As you mentioned, having won it before a couple of years ago.
Well, I imagine for these athletes, there's a lot of impetus placed on national selection. I know Sydney Rowing Club are one of the feeder clubs into the Australian national team, and I'm sure several of the athletes in these boats and also the other boats representing their club this weekend or this week have got one eye on competing in home colours this summer at the under-23s and perhaps even the senior worlds. We can see Greenbank Falmouth struggling a little bit, I think, on the day. They've just come up against a better crew.
Yeah, and it is tough competition. I mean, this is a strong event. You can see technically the Sydney Rowing Club crew, they're very proficient, they're together, they're smooth and long, and they're really relaxing here in what they're doing. Greenbank just not quite with the same finesse. It's a great shot of the coxswain there. Of course, unlike the eights, the coxed fours are coxed from the bow. And we were saying yesterday, this is quite a difficult position for the coxswain to be in, because normally in the eights you're able to have a good view, you can have a look around, but when you're sitting up there, you can imagine the coxswain of the Sydney Rowing Club crew, they're not able to see what's coming, so they're really relying on the rowers to feed back that information. If Greenbank, for example, was to make a big sprint at this point, the coxswain would not be on top of that, so there must be some communication there happening between the rowers and the coxswain. So I'd be a little bit nervous being that coxswain and seeing the rate and thinking, are we really that far ahead? So they do have to be on top of their game, as do the rowers, with their communication in the crew.
Well, you'd certainly hope it was a more efficient line of communication than the one shared between the stroke of an 8 and the cox of an 8 sometimes in some of the events we've already seen unfold today, because they didn't pay heed to umpires' warnings, whereas these coxes not only cannot see what they're doing, but actually they're not even facing the person they're trying to talk to. But I imagine that is well drilled into them by their coaches, and Sydney in no danger at all of straying across their station at this stage. They're enjoying their row down the enclosures now, several lengths up on Greenbank Falmouth. No real danger of being overhauled on this wonderful Friday afternoon here at Henley Regatta.
We look back at the Sydney Rowing Club crew there. They're coming down past the enclosures, and this has been quite clinical, just executing a strong row. But we know that that's going to change over the next couple of days as they start to face some of the higher ranked crews.
I imagine those higher ranked crews are slightly disappointed to see Sydney having such an easy time of it on the Friday. They've been keen to have stretched their legs a little bit more, but as it is, Sydney moving their way, or making their way down to the line.
Pretty calm row there for Sydney Rowing Club, taking up the Britannia Challenge Cup this round over Greenbank Falmouth Rowing Club A.